Hello.
Sue, what do we do? What do we do? I don't even know how to even introduce this one. I mean,
I
it's
know.
like a blast from the past, but like a leap into the future. And there's like, I'm looking forward to talking like the catching up side of this, but I'm really looking forward to getting into like some of the subject matter we're going to be talking about because
Yes.
this is so up my alley. So, Sue, you know what? You do the intros because I'm just going to sit over here and kind of geek out and like remember when.
Remember when? Well, for our first interview since 2019, Tim and I have the illustrious and prolific duo of April Mullen and Tim Doiron of Wango Films. We've been talking to you guys.
Oh,
Well, okay, we've been talking to you guys since before we were Mind Rails, really.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But then I guess Dead Before Dawn probably would be our intro as Mind Rails to be.
yeah, because we did that big breakfast broadcast from France.
Yeah.
Yeah, Niagara
Where they asked us
Falls.
to
Yeah.
leave afterwards. Yeah.
But we went to way, way, way before. Back when we were rock, paper, scissors,
That's
talking
right.
on the streets is when we met Sue.
I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah.
at the Artful Dodger with
This.
Guy
Yeah.
Lavalley because he was going to bring you to the Edmonton Film
Oh, yeah.
Festival.
Yeah, man.
We're talking like 2000 and it's
Yeah,
in
I don't know.
the first sets of the 2000s when there were still zeros between the two and the number that it was. Yeah.
Yeah, the decade that my brain just skips over when I think about how long ago things
Yeah.
were.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh,
yeah.
and April, just as an aside, I've been watching Spencer Sisters religiously as well. So I've been enjoying that as well. You know, the things you do. Anyhow, Simulant is what we're here to talk about today.
Mm-hmm. Very exciting. I mean, do we jump right into like the heavy stuff? Because I want to talk about the heavy stuff.
I think somebody should give a brief synopsis first and then
Right.
so that people know what to expect come April 7th, I believe, is the release date in Canada.
Well, you do it
In
then.
Canada. Who
Tim,
wants to give?
Tim explain the synopsis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Simulant. Simulant is set in a near future, a future very similar to ours. But in this future, there are things known as simulants, which are AI replicas of humans. So this is in a near future that presupposes that AI technology has moved even further from where we are today. And you can have these simulants come into your home, and you can upload your thoughts and your memories and all that sort of stuff into them, and they can basically replace loved ones that you perhaps lose, or be a partner, or many different things. So Simulant sort of takes just sort of a slice of life circumstance from that world and explores a bunch of different people that live in this near future world where all their lives sort of come together and coalesce and end up sort of crossing over, and asks a lot of interesting and difficult questions along the way. And the film stars Sam Worthington and Simu Liu and Robbie Amell and Jordana Brewster and Alicia Sanz, and was directed by yours truly, April Mullen, right there.
Well, I mean, and that's it, right? I mean, you're talking about near future stuff, and even from the like well brief synopsis you've given me, it sounds like yeah, like you said, a slice of life, but it also sounds like you're really tackling some of these highbrow science fiction ideals, like well, and more importantly, getting that human condition, which is what sci-fi is really good about dealing with. Because Jordana Brewster's character, I believe, loses her partner and then wants to install like his memories into the simulant. So you're talking about how humans deal with grief. How do we move on from losing someone, or do we just go on with somebody else who looks and sounds like someone? And the whole idea of artificial slash manufactured intelligence, how that's going to play into our lives. I mean, we are one step away from the big singularity that they keep talking about. So I mean,
it's so close. And the other big theme, which we've been like talking a lot about lately, April and I, is the idea of love. And we've been reading some different things lately on like what is love, and is love truly inherent to, like, as humans, are we born and inherently we just know and understand how to love, or is love more of a learned social sort of situation? And if that is true, and say we do, suppose that love is that, is it then feasible that like artificial intelligence could technically learn to love? So there's all these other interesting like moral dilemmas that come into it as well. Yeah, it's so weird.
And messy.
It's
And
messy.
messy.
I think at the end of the film, with audience members, the sort of thinking a lot of different things themselves in terms of like, what does the future look like? Will I be on board with AI? Am I in support, or am I going to run off into the woods and run away from it all? I feel like it leaves you with the questions at the end of the film, and you're really rooting for these characters. You feel compassion for both our Simulant, Evan, and you feel compassion for the art-breathing widow. You feel compassion all around for Simu's character and Sam's character, and it's sort of, it really is kind of confusing at the end of the day. And I think people will ask themselves questions like, why was I rooting for this when this turn of events, the end of the film really takes a big spin, not without, giving away spoilers or anything. But I think it'll leave everybody with, a very big question mark of where they stand in the, when there's, a line drawn in sand.
Well, that's the beauty of like sci-fi, though, is that you can ask those big questions, and then afterwards, even crappy B-movie sci-fis from like the 70s and 80s, you can walk away and then have these big discussions afterwards. And like you said, man, AI, it's we're right there on the tip of something big coming. And how are we as a species gonna react to that?
Yeah. I mean, aren't they already talking about letting AI write scripts and just
I
think they
give up writers altogether?
I mean, this is a crazy thing on this topic. Like, think about this. So this idea for Simulant we developed it for a while, and then we actually shot another film in between like the first like draft of the script we have of this, and then actually being like, it's time for us to go, we're going to make this movie. So let's say we really picked this up and started running with it in like say 2020. Even then, until now, we were talking about stuff, but ChatGPT wasn't a thing yet. Like all these things weren't a thing. Like even when we were filming last year, all the AI advancements weren't a thing. And now it's insane actually in the timing of this film being released and stuff, is everything is so exponential, and so it's just the growth pattern now in the AI world is so exponential. We're seeing new things like this. I'm sure if someone watched what we're talking about here today, in like 6 months, we're going to sound like geezers talking about printing presses. It's pretty dramatic how insanely fast it's moving now.
Wow.
But because it's becoming self-aware, that's why.
Yeah.
That's just terrifying. Let's talk about the production side for a second, because you guys have cut your teeth on so many different genres. You've done so much work. April, I looked at your IMDb the other day. I'm just like, crap. I mean, you guys are everywhere. Just you're doing everything you can to get all the experiences you can and bringing together for each production. What were the big challenges for you guys on this?
I think the biggest thing for us was it was sort of put on hold because of the pandemic. So we were going out to cast pre-COVID, and then everything sort of stalled because nobody knew where the world would end up and if we would ever make movies again, never have the pleasure of being side by side again. So the whole thing was put on hold. Tim relentlessly kept going out to cast and never gave up and kept knocking down every door. Which ended up getting us a phenomenal cast. Sam Worthington, Simulant, Jordana Brewster, Robbie and Mal. The list goes on. I'm so excited about the cast we did get, but we did cast over the span of COVID, which was a bizarre thing to sort of try and understand when the government would lift things enough to go to camera. And then we actually got everything greenlit, got the financing together, which is a mini miracle on its own. So independent cinema and where we're at. And just the pandemic is more difficult to sort of decentralize where theaters would be and films would ever be seen in theaters again. And so we're off to start production, and Omicron hit. So then when Omicron hit, our prep became remote. So all of like the VFX in the film and the design work of the world built, everything had to be remote. The keys was all remote done. Location scouting was just too minimal, just myself, the DP, Tim, and a few other of us running around the city of Hamilton. But everything sort of revolved a lot around what was happening in the world, which was out of our control. And then we showed people in 22 days, which is when we split. Always too fast, a little too tight for comfort. and then we somehow ended up where we are today.
Dang. What about you,
Yeah.
Tim?
Same thing. I mean, the real, like, a couple of things about this production. Again, it was like we really wanted to create this like lo-fi sci-fi feeling, almost harkening back in a way to the 70s and 80s sci-fis that were like sort of even pre like Blade Runner and stuff, where it just had like these cool themes with these low sort of like lots of smoke and atmospheric type of feel. So very generic, which we shot in Hamilton, which was perfect for that.
Hamilton's a
but that
dirty
was-
lived-in world.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. But that was it. So we knew we wanted to build that world. We knew all that stuff. We were coming up, but again, for us, it was like it's an ensemble piece in a lot of ways, right? There isn't necessarily one particular character. It sort of flips, and to make the film successful, we want to hopefully have people rooting for different characters at different times. So, oh, nice. So making a film that basically has like 5 leads and then having to get them all at like a certain profile of performer and trying to balance all those schedules and stuff, that was always going to be finicky. But then when the whole Omicron thing hit, and it was like people were just getting COVID at that point, like there was no sense of safety even with stopping people from getting COVID. So we were like, oh my God, like every day you were like, if one of these people gets Omicron or gets COVID and we get shut down, we're sunk. So it was like a very intense feeling over production. So that was very scary. That was probably the most challenging thing. And I think the other most challenging thing was just, again, the like, making movies is something where you really want to feel that sense of camaraderie and be able to be really close with people. And like April said, doing the like having to be more remote on the prep side and remote on the shooting side, it just made it like you just feel like there's that a little bit of this thing that you want more of. And we were able to get it in the end, and come together as a team. But it was just a very intense experience through prep and shooting of the film. I think that's the best way to put it. Just because there was this extra like exponential factor with all the COVID stuff.
Oh man.
The living bacteria, which maybe the internet thinking it is.
That's
Well, that is a big mug. Good stuff.
Were you like, you guys tend to be involved in almost every aspect of your productions, from like from the script to the shooting, the production design, just from a geeky point of view, because I'm this kind of a nerd, because you guys have done so many films together and all this stuff. Are there any little, like, even just for yourselves, are there any little Easter eggs you've slipped into Simulant, or like little nods to?
April reacted to that right away. I saw an Easter egg that, not an Easter egg, but kind of, that made me happy, was Mr. El Perro showing up in the trailer.
Oh yeah, and Pedro has like a very big role again. He is like in it, and he's in it to win it. Yeah. He is.
Did Tim have to knock down his door as well to get him cast in the film?
I'll tell you
there's
one
no one
thing.
else that could look so good on camera.
No, it's true. I feel bad for Simu having to like act next to that, because who's going to be looking at him? No one.
He does this thing in the film. I'll tell you something. He did something that he's never done before and never done since. And I swear he knows when he is on camera. He behaves like an angel. He listens when every actor looks. He's like looking and looking. He's so perfect. When Robbie awakens from being unmasked, there's a moment where he sits on the couch and he's like laying down, and Carol's there. He has his chin on his lap. And he goes like one side, one side, one side, one side. And I was like, what? You're hamming it up. You're trying to get a better close-up. Like, you just totally milked the camera. And it's an amazing moment. It's in the movie, but he, I think his performance is even better than we want.
Amazing. Amazing.
But there are some Easter eggs in terms of, like, let's get serious. The geeky factor. I'm gonna give you some really fun facts about the music, because Tim and I are so obsessed with every aspect of the filmmaking. The music, if you look in and listen to the evidence-based work. We created pieces of music that seem human, like the piano, but in actual fact, everything we compose on their side is not playable by the left and right human. So it's all actually something that human beings create. So it's AI driven, but it isn't. But we like orchestrated it.
That's
And
awesome.
then I know, geek factor. And then number two on the other side of the music, we were with Sam and Simu on the sort of like, you know, free the AI side. There are sounds of like Tesla, battery engine, hard drives from the 80s, radio play, any kind of hard tech that we could find sound to. We pulled and layered it in, like this is called super deep. We're getting really deep, but within the 500 layers of music and score that's on that side, it's all tech driven. So even when you hear like a little bit of Lisa and she turns her head, the soundscape of all of that, which is she's a service android, it's all very mechanical tech based, which is I think that's just a
very
little Easter
cool.
egg that no one will ever know about, but us and whoever listens to this.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So
And then
Kind of how they did
Uh,
the lightsaber sounds in Star Wars, I think, was they took a bunch of like a hair dryer, like just a bunch of different things and threw them all together and got that.
it's the best sound, right?
It
It's
is.
the best sound. Yeah.
Oh,
So-
And
sound
then
design.
we're on the production side, April. I think there's like, if you keep your eyes peeled, I mean, there's nothing too crazy in this one, but there are always like specifically certain props that will always make sure gets into every film. So if there was ever going to be a retrospective of like all of our films down the line, there would be a number of like props that you could put together that have shown up in each and every production we've ever done. I don't even
and
remember
lamps.
specifically.
What about lamps? There's definitely
that's-
lamps that we have in
Yeah.
this, like we have a Wango storage, film storage, which has like costume pieces, lamps, so many lamps. We're obsessed with practicals. And they kind of find themselves into every film too.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
since Toss or something. Gravy Train.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
go way back. Because
Is
lamps,
there
once you
a
find
hot dog
good one-
mug?
Yes.
Oh, is there a hot dog mug? We're gonna put that
There's-
on the hit
I
list
think-
for the next film.
I think there actually is a hot dog mug hidden somewhere. I can't remember because I remember we talked about this. So I don't know if it actually made it on camera, but I do know there were a couple scenes where, and again, the thing is the landscape of this film is much different. It's very stark. It's not
Yeah.
like our other films at all.
Mm.
But there are a couple of scenes where in like the deep BG, I had a couple like hot dog mugs that I ended up giving to the set department. But I don't know if they ever ended up on camera, but I do know that there were certain ones laid in because we still have boxes of freaking hot dog mugs in Canada and the
Amazing.
United States.
If any of your fans write to you after this and ask for a hot dog mug from Dead Before Dawn that were specifically designed so the wiener hits your nose as you drink,
They're the worst.
we will happily,
So
we will
good.
happily give you at least 10 for fans who give you some sort of like, if they say, I really want a hot dog mug, we will send them over to you
All
Oh
right.
yeah. Oh
as
yeah.
a giveaway.
With a
I've
proof
got
of
one on my
purchase
bookshelf
ticket
still in the
from
box.
Cineplex.
Yeah, there you go. Proof of
Yeah.
purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They show their Simulant ticket. They get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's it.
totally.
100%.
Gotta see.
Maybe I'll get my ticket and then like pose with my hot dog mug and the ticket. And be like, you
Ah.
want one of these? You gotta have one of these.
Yeah.
See?
I love
I'm working. I'm working.
Now, well, you guys talked about it. You talked about a lot of practical stuff, and of course, you also mentioned VFX in this. So, where do you guys find the balance? Because I know a lot of directors like to use a lot of practical and do as much practical as they can. At what point do you guys get together, or April, is it your decision? We say, okay, you know what, we'll do this in VFX because it's just going to be easier, cheaper, better that way. I mean, where does that decision come in?
I feel like at the beginning of the prep, we definitely had a lot of conversations of what would be augmented, where we could do things practically versus VFX. And you try to strike a balance where the balance is usually down to money. So creative, I would say, comes first. And the most important pieces we make sure to be able to cover. And then we sort of do drafts which are like stick people drawings, my little stick people drawings, of the ideal of what would happen when Evan's chest opens and we reveal the octahedron, for instance. And then we do, things also change. There's these certain shots that we were very specifically designed a certain way, and were hand drawn sort of to be, the shot that Sam's walking on the street, we show a wide of the world, and there's some there's some pieces of world built in there, augmented buildings. We also have some holograms and extra drones and all of that. That is, creative decisions we do way in prep. So they might change in design, or if the lighting is a bit different, or the building or the constructs, we want it to feel more real. Like, it was really important for the team and myself for the VFX to just be like almost invisible in a lot of ways. Like, we wanted the characters in the story to take the precedent, and sort of the audience to come away with sort of this think piece and not be really distracted by the augmented world, and not be distracted by the VFX. I hope that it just sort of feels seamless and of the world and sort of bare bones, stripped down and organic. That was the intention anyways, but there was so many discussions at the time for all of the VFX. And then of course, when we finished, it was a very, very busy world because the entire world was trying to catch up from COVID. So every VFX artist on the planet was busy. And so our VFX got done by like 24 VFX artists from all over the world. Literally, we spanned the globe to try and finish our film because everybody was busy, probably doing Avatar. So I should have said, "Hey Sam, keep them for us." We could have said, "Hey James Cameron, can we borrow a few? We borrowed Sam for 12 days, but can we also borrow a few of your VFX people?" Right. But our guys were so amazing. We were so innovative. Like, even our service androids, if you've seen by the trailer, the Lisa, we had a lot of back and forth whether she was going to be all, practical or enhancements with VFX, but we really were, well, I was, and Tim too, super obsessed with the idea of making her a practical mold. So that was all prosthetics from top to bottom.
Oh
she
my
had
God.
to sit in the chair for 8 hours a day. There's just this little tiny augmentation on her face where you see sort of a metal line of what is her hard shell. And then her hair, of course, is hard. I mean, the design is really, we're trying to be unique, show the audience something they hadn't seen before. We didn't want to be too much, like Ex Machina or something like that. And we really wanted to have a voice on our own that was really Simulant. So those are the weird service androids and the most beautiful service androids I've ever seen that we came up with, which are all practical with just a little kind of like, they have a Nexera brand that is augmented in was augmented in VFX post. That's just a light, but that's about it. It was all practical. So I think we're really happy with the concepts and how it all turned out.
Yeah. The one thing overall is just, it definitely was, again, our films usually tend to be more on the gritty side, the real world side, like conspiracy, that type of stuff. So this definitely for us was the most VFX heavy film we've ever done by a landslide. So there were a lot of conversations leading up to prep on what was going to be practical and what wasn't. And then, I think we did a great job and found a great balance. And then there were a couple props, like the main prop of, Robbie's chest opening, and that actually existed both as a practical and a VFX. And sometimes that would be both in a single shot, right? On how to operate it and create the pieces and stuff. So, it was a really fun time. And again, trying to stay true to the lo-fi sci-fi feel as well, which was something that was always big for us. So all that stuff made for a really enjoyable process actually on that side.
So,
but
cool.
Yeah, again, busy.
Yeah, I mean,
in post.
Yeah, everything we've seen from the trailer, I mean, it looks, I was looking at it going, okay, I know that's VFX, but damn if it doesn't look so damn good. And so I just wanted to know where the balance was. And it sounds like you guys found it, which is amazing. And
good.
I'm right there with you on the lo-fi sci-fi, because some of the best stories are told that way, man.
Yeah.
And that's what we sort of figured for this film too, because at the end of the day, you have, if you want to go see the Blade Runners or the $250 million films, you're going to go see those. So we always wanted it to be well, what were we going to use that was going to be the greatest advantage for us and allow us to tell a story in a way that, say, that $250 million film wouldn't tell a story. And I think that's the interesting thing about like elevated independent film, is that you can find interesting ways into a story, and it actually becomes like some stuff becomes like a strength for you in your storytelling device as you move through production.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys have always been about, not only story but characters. I mean, characters are key.
Yeah.
For you guys.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm going into this one expecting. I'm like, I expect really good character work, and now I'm also going to be watching the deep background for all the little fun things.
Hot dog months.
We have just under 9 minutes left before this cuts us off. So why don't we talk about characters and about some of the themes? Like, I was thinking, even as I read the synopsis and some of the stuff from the press kit, throughout history, there's been a lot of what is a human and what makes a, like, for a long time, people of color were not considered to be people, or gay people don't have actual love. They have a dissected, divergent kind of thing that they call love. Do animals experience feelings that are similar to ours? So a lot of it almost touches on that too. So now we've got this completely synthetic thing, but is it? Like, can you create what is life? Can you create that as well? Like, are these people gods that create these sims as well?
It's we had, when we were in the development phase of this, and we had a lot of conversations with the writer Ryan Churchill on some of this stuff. And again, even in the film, you have the simulants who, like Robbie, not spoiling, but Robbie becomes, he's very much like a cognizant AI vessel. And then you have these Lisas that are these service androids that they have a much simpler thing. They don't have the same ability and capacity. Yeah. And it was Ryan very much, it was important to him to create almost this class system and allow the metaphor of how that, like, it actually sort of has parallels to what's happened in the past in real life. And as we move forward, where do you put the line on consciousness, and what is allowable and what isn't allowable? Like, just because you could have a Lisa who might not be conscious doing all your stuff for you, at what point does her consciousness get to a point where all of a sudden you're like, wait a sec, that's exploitative or whatever it might be? So there's a lot of interesting themes that exist in that. And again, it's like something you could talk for hours and hours about. But that was something that was Ryan always wanted.
The Sam Worthington's character, he works Ace, A-I-C-E. I'm like, that's ice, but with an A on the front, basically. And he's rounding up the non-humans, basically.
Good, Sue.
He's rounding up the illegals, is what he's doing.
Ryan,
I'm on it.
Ryan is so happy. Yeah,
I love it. I mean, I think that theme, like you were saying, there's so much subtext, and Sue's character is really, and firmly believes that we could coexist. Human beings and AI can coexist, and he falls in love with AI, and an AI falls in love with a human. He just really truly believes that relationship is real, and that there is hope that we can coexist in peace and in love and harmony. And what does that world look like? And especially for those people who are lonely or away or removed or have anxieties, personal touching, real communication with human beings. How do those people outreach? And maybe that's through AI, and maybe that's already happening. And who are we to say what their experience is? It's happening in their brains, and they're creating a really beautiful relationship. All of those things are really present in the film. I mean, they're not overstated, they're just there.
Yeah.
And our characters believe so heavily in certain aspects of that. Especially seeing them really fighting for this coexist together. And at the end of the trailer, it says love prevails. And I believe, as a filmmaker, the most important thing in the world, and why we're all here, and the only reason we're here, is to love and be loved, and mostly to experience love and give love. Love is all that matters. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. So I love that's in the movie, and I love that that's in the trailer. It was an ad. That's an Easter egg. It was an ad afterwards, but I just felt like it clarified at least everybody's motive. I think every single one of those characters believes in love at the end of the day. And it's interesting because they each have their different version, different perspective of what love is, a different definition. But love, they all believe in the same thing. Love prevails.
And I like that. Not only does it prevail, but it also shows that it can be wonderfully diverse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Huge message. Yeah.
Huge message.
Love it.
4 minutes left.
I know.
That's kind of the
Stupid
perfect
free
spot
Zoom
to
It
account.
almost feels like we're on set. It's like we have
I
4
know.
minutes to get this. Go.
We're
Get the
losing
shot.
the light.
Yeah. I'm gaining light somehow.
Yeah.
I keep running away from the sun.
So lucky. That was amazing, you guys. Oh my God. That was great. Thank you for this.
I know, and thanks for doing it so early because it's like
Right? It's like
middle of the day for you.
2:00 for you guys,
Like I
right?
already worked all day.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited for you guys to
Mhm.
share the film, and yeah, we're excited about
It's
this one.
exciting because Wango came out in the middle of COVID, and we never got to celebrate with audiences. And at the end of the day, you make a film to be shared, and you make a film to release it to the world and connect with your audience and connect with the press, connect with the world. And it was really, I mean, at the time you don't notice because you just make the movie and it gets released, and it felt like something huge was missing in terms of like coming full circle. And Tim and I always talk about it, that Wander we never got to experience it with the audience members and do the Q&As and interact with filmmakers and interact with what our audience thinks and get that feedback and watch them in theaters, sort of be surprised at the same time. And it's such a joy to be able to be in this place again where we can enjoy cinema together and talk about movies and see you guys again. And and for Simulant to be able to have that full circle and actually make it out there April 7th across, I think we're doing 40 screens this time, which is really phenomenal for an independent Canadian
cool.
film. And I think
you guys are doing a red carpet at one of them?
We are. We're doing a red carpet on the 7th in Toronto at Cineplex, and then we're doing a red carpet the 8th in Niagara Falls, my hometown, and then we're doing a red carpet on the 11th, Tuesday
11th.
in Hamilton.
All right. Right on.
Yeah. So we will be around. And Sam Worthington is in attendance at the Toronto one, and Robbie Amell as well.
Okay.
And Alicia
Cool.
Saunders, flying from LA. So that would be great.
Whoa.
Very cool. Damn.
All
You
right.
guys are just
Come
so
join
awesome.
the fun.
Well, I'm looking at my schedule now. I'm like, can I do that? Can I do that?
Oh yeah.
We'll
I think
get you
it's
more.
8 p.m. screening.
8
Yeah,
p.m.
we'll get you all the info on things because again, they just got locked up actually pretty recently. I know it's like crazy because it's almost April, but that's it. So we'll get you all the info and then hopefully
Perfect.
see you guys in person as well soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, and I would want to take this second and just say you guys have always been so gracious, not only with your time, but not only with us, but with like everybody who comes to see your films. You guys always have time for everybody. And that made me fall in love with both of you right off the bat because you guys are just so passionate about what you do, but you share that passion. And it's just, I love watching you guys succeed because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
I love
Thank you,
the people
Tim.
so much. I love the humans.
Thank you.
I love the humans. Sue, you got married.
Oh.
I cried so much when you got engaged and got married. I was so, because it was over COVID. So of course I can't be like screaming from the sidelines. But I cried so much that you found such a beautiful relationship and love. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited for you.
Yeah.
I cried
this is great.
too.
I love it.
We couldn't even talk about how much we love each other without crying. It's stupid. I don't want to talk about it
amazing
right
is
now.
what it is. It's amazing.
All right, let's
Guys are the best.
cut us off anytime. I love you guys.
Yeah, you guys are
Love
the
you.
best.
We'll
And I'll
make
reach
sure you
out
get
over
invites to the
email.
red carpet. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you
Safe.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you. Thanks for
Bye.
wearing my mom's t-shirt.